Hello, everybody, Raven fans, Oriole fans. Thank you very much for joining us here this week at our pre-spring training. Getting ready for the baseball season here. Bravery Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content here. So thank you very much for joining us here as well. So let's just take care of all of our business here. Facebook.com, Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com is the website here. So definitely, too, if you are looking for services in the Shenandoah Valley, definitely check us out, Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com. Value is tremendous for that, Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com. Definitely check it out. Preseason predictions is what's coming up. March 23rd. So right before the baseball season starts, you could check out MLB preseason predictions. They get Orioles and Ravens merchandise, braverysports.company.site. Check it out today as well. So if you get Orioles hats, Ravens hats, all these jerseys, definitely check that out. Legal Shield, man, you are missing out. I was just talking to Legal Shield today. The value of it is so valuable, tremendous, great legal advice they even gave me today. So definitely check that out, Legal Shield. Especially if you're a business owner or anything like that, definitely please go ahead and check it out. You won't regret the value of Legal Shield. Get a will done. Trust me, it's so easy to do. Get a will done. It takes a few minutes to go ahead nowadays just to put that information in. They'll square you away. You'll love the value of it is tremendous. All right, let's get to business here. The NFL. So let's go over this week. The stream is called Ravens Free Agent. Hit the wrong thing there. Ravens Free Agent Targets 2025. So we're about to enter free agency. Not quite yet. We still have a few weeks. I believe it's mid-March. I think the date is March 12th or 13th when we actually enter free agency. So definitely when we enter free agency, it's an opportunity for teams to sign with new teams. The old contracts are up, and a go-ahead chance to sign with a new team. Ravens going to have free agents. So now we've already talked about the free agents. We have what the needs are. We're going to expound on the needs a little bit and see what might go on in free agency. We're going to do free agent targets this week. Next week, we're going to do draft targets. Okay, so let's do this. So we're going to not talk about every single position of free agency as far as targets go, but definitely some areas of need. There are several positions I think we might be looking at in terms of free agency and targets. Positions. Don't think the Ravens are going to target. I'm going to expound, not change it from last week, but a little bit. Just we're talking about now free agents, what we think they're going to do in free agency. Running back, center, tight end, nose tackle. Don't think they're going to spend money on that, big money on that anyway. Best running back room in the league. Make it an extension for Tyler Linderbaum. Tight end, I think, is rock solid. Some people are maybe clamoring for Mark Andrews to leave. I don't think that's going to happen. And nose tackle. So those are things. Possibly targeting. So you might see a backup quarterback. That'll definitely be a lower end later. Not a lot to go over there. Defensive end as well. Kicker. We're still worried about Tucker and what's going on. Tucker, not great last season. Returner, definitely they said that's going to be a priority. Maybe a vet to come in. I don't think it'll be Deontay Hardy or Steve Sims, but that's it. And fullback, depending on what happened with Pat Ricard, we're expecting him back, but possible if they don't sign. I think they might look at a fullback at some point. All right, inside linebacker. Now, you already have an inside linebacker. Obviously, you have one of the best in the league, Roquan. So I don't think you're going to spend a lot of money on that. But there are going to be some guys here available if you look at the list here. Number one, I think, is Zach Braun. Just winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles. I think he was one of the big reasons why they won. Probably too expensive there as well, but definitely somebody you want to keep an eye on. Drake Greenlaw says he wants to get out of San Fran, wants to be a number one linebacker. We'll see. Money talks. So I don't think he would be one here either, playing with Roquan. Probably not possible. Nick Bolton, I think, is very, very underrated. Nick Bolton, I think, is one of the better free agents, inside linebackers in the NFL. Ernest Jones, I think, in Seattle. Here's a guy familiar playing with Mike McDonald, so he'd be familiar with the defense, so similar to what the Ravens run. Interesting. Ageless Bobby Wagner, I think. Is a tackle machine. I think this would fit with Roquan. Just think about it. A couple years ago, they were doing everything they can to get Bobby Wagner signed, and they might have never traded for Roquan. He goes and signs with the Rams because it was closer to home. Then he goes back, signs with Seattle, has last season with the Commanders. So it'll be interesting to see. I think maybe this time around, having played with Commanders, he might be more interested in signing with the Ravens. Couple guys not as good, but notable. Willie Gay, New Orleans, the huge cat mess in New Orleans. Eric Kendricks in Dallas, a good veteran. Tyrell Dotson, another guys kind of keep an eye on. I think the kind of mid-level guys, maybe that's where you're looking. This situation. Edge rush. Khalil Mack of the Chargers is the number one guy, I think, in all football. Age, I think, is a little bit, but if you get a guy with his ability there, go ahead, Jordan. Go ahead, get his ability there. I think that's outstanding. Josh Sweat of the Eagles, I think, is outstanding in the Super Bowl, as we just saw. Great stuff. I think he's number two. I really think he's definitely looking for big bucks on the team. Hassan Riddick with the Jets. I honestly don't understand why teams aren't as high on Riddick as I am. I think he's a phenomenal pass rusher. I think he's actually got great. He's kind of like Henderson, Trey Henderson, in a sense. You don't get much from the run, which I think is probably the reason for him. But I do like there. Former Raven Matt Judon, I think, played last season with the Falcons. Didn't maybe get as well, so maybe he's less expensive. I could definitely see this. Ravens are familiar with him. There's a guy, Malcolm Kuntz, a little bit slept on. Good season with Las Vegas last year. Had that about double-digit sacks. Played. Now he did a play on the other side of Max Crosby, so that factors in. But good pass rush to Ravens. That was probably the strength of their team. Notable, not really top five, but DeMarcus Lawrence, Chase Young. DeMarcus Lawrence is still really good at setting the edge. I absolutely see the Ravens taking a vet. Chase Young, lots of potential still in New Orleans. And again, New Orleans with the cap situation, definitely want to take a look there. Wide receiver. Some is arguing this is a need, not much, but I definitely think if you can get somebody on this list, think it could. They definitely maybe need a third receiver, but it's possible if they can get the right price for a receiver. T. Higgins, I think, is going to be the number one free agent in the entire NFL. Last year, he was on the free agent list. This year, I think he's definitely going to go. I don't think they're going to franchise him again. So it's definitely going to be services to the highest bidder, and it's going to be a big price. I'm thinking about $30+ million, maybe for T. Higgins, to go ahead and sign him. Stephon Diggs, I think there's a drop-off after Higgins. Diggs, I don't think was too bad last year with the Texans. I think probably with the injuries they had, so we'll see what happens there. Chris Godwin, kind of same. I think they're kind of ready to move on there. Evans, a guy, the young guy McMillan, kind of it was getting more reps, so I think they may be ready to move on. I think there are some reps there as well for another team. Mari Cooper with the Bills. Doubt they re-sign him. I think still pretty. I don't know. Still pretty good. Numbers definitely weren't what they were. I don't know if this is the big fall for him, but we'll see. Keenan Allen for the Bears last season. Can you keep him healthy? I think he's a great fit for a third receiver for the Ravens. I think they actually have like Bateman and him and Keenan Allen. I actually do like the sound of that. DeAndre Hopkins apparently is not retiring. Apparently, there was a hack of Shefty or whatever saying there was a tweet out saying that he was going to retire. Apparently, that's not true. He's not going to retire. So he's still out there. Hollywood Brown for the Chefs. So both the receivers for the Chefs are leaving. I don't think either one of them is going to start next year. I think they're going to start with Sheet, Rice, and Worthy, and maybe look for somebody in the draft as well. Safety for that. So safety. He said they might take a safety, so it's definitely there. They're for sure getting rid of Marcus Williams. Darius Washington is the safety there right now. So Javon Holland, Justin Reed, Tolo Anfanga, Cameron Bynum, and Trevor Morin. All these names are good names. I think at the top, Holland is going to be the number one guy to play at wide receiver, to play at safety for the league. I think 25 years old, ascending player. Not his best year last year, but we will see about that. Justin Reed, I think, is much better last season than I think he gets credit for. I think all of those are interesting to see if the Ravens would take a safety. I absolutely see them signing at the bottom a Chuck Clark, a Justin Simmons, a Von Bell. Keep your eye on that. Chuck Clark played for the Ravens as well. They traded him away. Should be able to get him cheap. So that's also why he's on the list. Justin Simmons, I think, was a Pro Bowler as of just the season before. Didn't do, kind of came into Atlanta late. Von Bell, they're familiar with him playing in Cincinnati. Don't mind that if they actually go that route. Corner is a need. So you're losing, we talked about losing Brandon Stevens probably in the offseason. He's not on the top 5 list here. So you're going to need help. So you got Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins under contract as starters. You may need a third corner to go ahead and do that. Interesting to see. These are some of the names out there. DJ Reed of the Jets, I think, is fantastic. I think clearly he's the number one spot there. Jadavius Ward, I like him. I think he's versatile. I think he's got a lot of abilities. I think he's definitely the type player the Ravens would like. Carlton Davis, I think, really improved last year, the Lions secondary. So that's definitely a name that's out there. Byron Murphy was really good for the Vikings last year as well. So I think that's going to be pretty expensive as well. The first 4, I think the Ravens may be priced out, but they're really good players. Asante Samuel, don't know where we are with him. I think he was good with the Chargers for the most part, but last year missed a lot of time. Can he be healthy enough to play? Again, kind of familiar with what the Ravens do, and the Ravens were like playing in Los Angeles with the Chargers. A couple names at the bottom to look at: Stephon Gilmore, Mike Hilton, Dante Jackson. Gilmore, I think the only thing, he's an older guy, but he's really good. Former defensive player of the year. Mike Hilton, I think, is a slot guy. I think you take a look at Dante Jackson as well. Third guys, I think you got your starters. I think those are guys also you would look at there as well. Tackle. The number one guy on our list here is the number one guy I think can tackle in the NFL, and that's Ronnie Stanley. I don't think he returns. $20 million is probably the average as well. You never know. Maybe we'll get some magic from EDC. He's also too easily the number one guy on this list. You drop down here, and you got Cam Robinson, I think, with the Jags. I don't think he returns. I don't know how much you pay him. I don't know about that. I think that they would make a move like that. I think 3 and 4 are more like what they might do when you got a Tyron Smith and a Jared Bowles and the Garrett Bowles. I think those are more likely decent right tackle prospects. I think you could probably put those. Tyre Smith, you could probably play left tackle, but they were like whole fillers. I think for a year or two, you could kind of plug them in. Same with Morgan Moses. I think Morgan Moses, is pretty healthy. As far as some of the thing is, Morgan Moses has a good career being healthy. Played with the Ravens before. Interesting if they can get him on a good price. I don't think it's completely unconsiderable for them. Maybe at this point you see him more as a swing guy or backup. Jarrett Willis and Joe Noteboom. Noteboom has kind of been moving from guard to tackle as well. Jarrett Willis, I think, probably not going back with Cleveland. Cleveland, a lot of changes going on. Their number one is the guard. I think this is clearly your biggest need. I think definitely Daniel Falele is not getting it done at all. I don't think Daniel Falele is the guy. You certainly have a hole on the other side. You may be losing McCary, and Voorhees is still unproven. You're losing Ben Cleveland probably in free agency, so you have a need. You might need two. Trey Smith, I think, is the number one player at the tackle spot. I think he probably is the best lineman, period, available. Young ascending player, very good for years. I think he's one of the top 10 guards in the league. I don't know if they can afford him. The Chefs are paying Joe Thuney about $20+ million. So how much money are you going to pay at guard for two guards? So, but what the Ravens invested in, I think certainly when you have a player of this caliber, you absolutely will look at it. So that's definitely a thing. Mekhi Becton, I think, was a marginal tackle last year and was great for the Eagles at guard. So definitely you look at the success they had. Mekhi Becton, I think, was absolutely a guy you can go ahead and take a look at as far as success. Will Freeze, I think, is really good, except for the injury. Again, a little bit injured last year, so didn't play nearly as much. So I think the Ravens might take a little, if they can get it for a little bit less, they would do it. Kevin Zeitler, I think, for the Lions, I think is self-explanatory, played for the Ravens. Look, a lot of these guys they had are now free agents again. Zeitler and Moses, you could plug those guys right in. Certainly Zeitler put him back right guard compared to what you had. Zach Martin's been good for a long time. I think definitely that's something, again, a short-term deal to look at. Ben Brayson, Robert Jones at guards. So not quite the level, more swing cards. I kind of see those as replacements for McCary, maybe a guy that plays several positions, play guard and center, etc. So there you go. Targets for the Ravens there. Free agent targets. So those are the targets that the Ravens have in free agency that we are looking for. There you go. So the Ravens, as far as free agency, we know that it is not the thing of Eric DeCosta to actually like a lot of free agency. So the thing is, they tend to maybe go for one or two players, big name. That's what you're going to see. You're not going to see 5, 6 guys. I don't think you have a ton of big needs on your roster. You don't have to go get 4, 5, 6 guys out there on your team. I don't think you need to do that this year. So you're going to have 1 or 2 guys that you're looking at to go ahead and get. Excuse me. So you don't need a whole lot of guys. You only need 1 or 2 guys to go ahead and get on your team. All right. So let's go ahead and go over this here. The Super Bowl is now over. If you could call that a Super Bowl, you wait all year for the biggest game of the year, and that wasn't much of a game at all. I think a lot of us can agree on that. Chiefs and the Eagles weren't very good. Game 40-22. I don't think that was the score. Doesn't even tell it how close the game was. I think the Eagles, really horse raced them early. you look at the score and you say, well, that was the Eagles' offense clicking on all cylinders to beat the Chefs. No, I really think it was. If you saw it, it was the Eagles' defensive line really just harassing Pat Mahomes. One of the first Super Bowls I ever watched as a little kid. It was one of the games was when the Lawrence Taylors, New York Giants, going against John Elway and the Denver Broncos, and that's kind of what that reminded me of yesterday. That kind of reminded me of Sunday when you had just Mahomes was harassed from start to finish, just looked bad the whole game, didn't look like the guy we've seen, just under constant duress. The Eagles defense actually held Saquon decent enough in the game, but they didn't. But what they weren't able to do is actually stop the pass game. Like Saquon, and that's the thing about Jalen Hurts, makes you pay when it doesn't happen. So good stuff, Eagles. Those of you want to talk about Kendrick Lamar, I don't watch that stuff. I don't care. Like I don't. I don't know why anybody cares about the half. I don't even watch halftime in I don't know how long. Game. I think the last halftime I actually watched was Michael Jackson, where I cared about it after the year. The only halftime I was ever excited about the Super Bowl was when In Living Color had a halftime show in the middle of the game. We actually switched to 5. That's the only time I was ever excited about the halftime. So good for everybody involved. Congratulations to the Eagles winning the Super Bowl as well. Definitely check out my Super Bowl preview and recap as well. I did it with Dylan there after the game, the Super Bowl preview, if you want to go over that as well. All right, so let's go to the next segment here. Tiers of the NFL. So can't get the screen up here. Oh, there we go. All right. Struggle. Got it now. There we go. Now you're used to seeing what we're seeing. Now, tiers of the NFL. Now, the quarterback tiers. So we're talking about free agency, and we are going to have some movement here with quarterbacks. So I did want to go ahead and go over some things as far as quarterbacks, as far as what's going to happen here pretty soon. So not quite a predictions yet, because there's still more to do here. We might do that in about a week or two here. But I want to go over what's going on right now in the NFL at the quarterback position here in the postseason here as well. So I definitely want to go over that as well. We're going to get to Maryland basketball as well. We're going to start, obviously, baseball. One of my favorite segments here, state of the franchise as well. All right, so the tiers of quarterbacks. So what does this mean when you talk about tiers of quarterbacks? Who is untouchable? Who is good? Who is movable? Who has issues? Going into the offseason, I have this conversation all the time. Quarterback is so by far the first, last, the only on a team a lot of times. If you have a good quarterback, it covers up a lot. There was only really one of these really good quarterbacks here in the tier one that didn't make the playoffs. So that's how it is with the quarterbacks. So let's see what teams are going to do in the offseason as far as tiers go. These are the untouchable. Okay, so no conversation, no debate, no taking a team, nothing. I don't care if the team offers a trade. There'll be no trade. There's no giving up these guys. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. That's it. No discussion. There's no moving them. There's no interest in moving them. There's no Josh Allen won the MVP, although controversially. Pat Mahomes, former MVP. Lamar, 2-time MVP. Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. Jayden Daniels is probably the one, maybe if there is one, I'm putting there. I think he got his team to the to the NFC Championship. He's there. He might be facing Jalen Hurts for year to come, who just won his first Super Bowl. So I don't think they're ever no discussion. Not moving these guys. 9 here, good enough category. So these guys are good, solid NFL starters. I think they could be moved for the first category if they became available for some crazy reason. But these coaches are not worried about their quarterbacks at all in this category. Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, Matt Stafford, Jordan Love. Purdy and Love, not quite as good, but they're still really good. I'm not so worried about that. I don't think they would get moved or anything like that. I think Purdy probably get an extension. Love not quite as good last year, but they're not overly concerned yet. Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff. Playoff quarterbacks as well. Herbert, I'm not putting him in the elite category. Some might have him there. I don't think he's that. He's really, really good. If you want to put him at the top of this category, I don't have a big beef with that. That's fine. Tua, I think you saw the difference without him in there. With the Dolphins, he's really good. Prescott, still really good. I don't think the Cowboys really struggle without him. Good category as well. These guys are developing, so we don't know yet. So you're hoping to come along. These guys are starting last year or maybe starting this year going forward. Developing. So Drake May, Anthony Richardson, Bo Nix, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Mike Penix, and J.J. McCarthy. May I had him closer to solid, but I'm going to leave him in developing. Didn't start from minute one last year. Pretty good, I think, at time. I didn't have him there. Anthony Richardson, I don't know. It's a miss. I almost had him in the miss category, but we're still giving him some grace. The jury is still out. Bo Nix, I thought, was really good last year. Bryce Young really turned it around last year. So good for him even getting here. Like with that, Caleb Williams, I don't have a big problem with Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is going to be decent still. Penix started the last couple of games in Atlanta, and J.J. McCarthy, I think, is the one. Totally incomplete. I don't know if he's the guy. It certainly looks like they're going in that direction. They may or may not sign Sam Darnold, but definitely he's there. For now, I'm going to say just put him in the developing category if they start him at all. Questionable. Trevor Lawrence, you got to put in this questionable category. Not great last year, injured. He's going to be there for sure because they just paid him a lot of money. So he was smart enough to sign the extension before last year. So don't know exactly what you're going to get from Trevor Lawrence going forward as well. Going to have a new coach. We'll see. Derek Carr may not even be in New Orleans. I think they're going to possibly save $30 million into the cap keeping him, but we'll see how that goes with Derek Carr as the quarterback there. See what happens there. And these are the teams now with no quarterback at all. They're just total in search mode as well. Jets, Raiders, Browns, Titans, Giants. Titans and Browns are picking first and second. So I think there are 2 first-round quarterbacks that are available. We'll talk about when we get to the mock draft order. They're going in Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. I think they're going to go pretty early. 2 of these teams are going to get it as well. Browns, I keep seeing them not taking quarterback. I don't get it. I don't know why. Titans, I think I heard this week that I saw a nightcap where they were talking about trading the first pick. I think that's just maneuvering, seeing if they can get something. I don't know. Giants, I think, might be looking at Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, something like that. Aaron Rodgers for sure, not coming back to the Jets. They're looking at a quarterback as well. They're probably going to move on from Devontae Adams as well. The Raiders, I got no clue what's going to be. You never know. I think all these teams, certainly the Giants, Raiders, are going to be in the Sam Darnold business. I think the other teams, I think the Raiders and the Giants are going to take a look at Aaron. They may have to. Kirk Cousins is a name searching at the team. Certainly the teams that can't get a quarterback. I don't think there's anything but 2 at the top of the draft. That's it. 2 quarterbacks. What? There you go. So the tiers of QB. So those are what you're going to see We'll talk a little bit more NFL there going forward as well. But yeah, so as we enter the off season, that's kind of what we have as far as quarterbacks going forward for next season. Terps are still in the top 25. They moved down from 18 to 25 after the surprising, terrible loss to Ohio State. Bruce Thornton just went berserk on them in the one game. I think that dropped them. They were able to win against Rutgers. Rutgers actually not much of a team, but they do have, I think, what a lot of people consider two of the top draft picks in the NFL in the NBA draft next season in Ace Harper and Dylan Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. A lot of them have 2 and 3 in the draft. 50 scouts were at the last game, apparently from Maryland. Look, if they're looking at Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, they got a whiff of what Derek Queen can do for them at the next level. There is no way those two guys are way ahead of Derek Queen. No way. Not from what I saw. Queen still has some things to refine, but certainly to me, he looks like a first round. I keep seeing Queen as a low first round pick, like 25, 30, like below the lottery. Certainly, I think he's at the lottery. Bailey, I certainly see it. Harper, I don't see it as much. Not way ahead like I've been seeing. But more importantly, the Terps in the top 25. Next game against Nebraska. Definitely Bryce Williams is a guy you have to look at. 19 points a game in Nebraska. After that, Iowa. So, trap game. They haven't been really good on the road. Despite all the losses, most of the losses have been pretty much on the road. Haven't done well on the road. So, looking to actually break that and get squared away. Come on. There's Mrs. Ravery going past there. All right, so there you go. Masson showing 8 spring training games. I've been doing this. I was looking at the timeline. I said I started Ravery Sports. The concept of it I've had since January 2022, like the idea of it. I've actually started getting LLC and all that stuff around like July-ish. Did our first stream, I think, right before the football season. I think it was August 2022. So we're working on year 3. And I think all 3 years, I've been telling y'all how bad Masson is as far as spring training games. Last year, they showed 4. This year, they're showing 8. 8's more than 4, obviously. I was doing math with my daughter this morning. So we were doing that. 1, 2, 3. 8's more than 4. But that's unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. How can you have a channel that only shows baseball? And let's be clear, they don't show any other sport. There's nothing else on your channel, Masson. You don't show any. I don't even see shows like this here, like a podcast, like where guys chop it up and talk baseball, whatever. You have all this time. You have all these, and you can't. And then you get to spring training and you only show 8 games. So if you don't have any other programming, why aren't you showing more than 8 baseball games? That doesn't make sense. I don't understand why you're just trying to hoard money like this and not give the fans what they're actually looking for. The people that are actually paying for this and paying for these games, they deserve better than showing 8 games, especially if you're not showing anything else. I'd almost be off your case if you're showing Big Ten Network games or high school games or anything, but you're not showing anything else. You're showing World Series of Poker, and then you'd only want to show 8 Masson spring training games. So what are we doing? Unacceptable still. I think they may be hearing the complaints, but let's get a whole slate of games. There's no reason why you shouldn't be showing all of the games during the week. Radio, I'm off you a little bit. Y'all not much better. That shouldn't happen either. Only games, just come. This is 2020. This is 2025. So let's go ahead and do better with that. That's great. I mean, I've killed y'all so much as is. That's why that segment isn't longer. But that's crazy. No reason for that. No reason to have 8 baseball games in the course of a spring. That just doesn't make any sense. This just doesn't at all. All right. So let's go ahead. Why does it keep doing that? Keep doing that. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at this as well. So let's go over. Let's stick with baseball here and go over our top 10 lists as well. The top 10 left fielders in the MLB in 2025. We have been going through it here. The top 10 players in the MLB. One of them's really going to surprise y'all. Y'all going to come here and say, well, no, it's not right. No, this is actually the way it's going to go. So in 2025, this is probably of all the outfield positions, the one where it's not. They kind of develop guys or move guys or whatever. So you don't always have your best outfielders in left. They usually put them in right or they put them in center. But so the list isn't as strong. I actually did take a real hard look at this too. And so some days you might say, well, where is they're not playing in left or they're being moved in the coming season, which happens in left a lot this year. Number 10, Taylor Ward of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So the Anaheim team, Taylor Ward, Taylor's had a couple seasons in a row, 25 home runs or 20 home runs, 25 home runs, 75 RBIs last year. Nice, solid player on a team that's not very good. Definitely going to get at bats. Kind of like a better version to me of Austin Hayes when I see him. He's going to get at bats. He's going to be successful. He's going to do, but not a killer. Got to get his average a little bit higher. I think he has some potential. I don't know how much better he gets. He's about 31 years old, but this not bad. Taylor Ward, definitely good enough, I think, to put him at the bottom of the top 10. Here's a guy with potential, Riley Green. I'm trying to think maybe I'm not putting him high enough. I kind of thought that a couple times because he's really young, 24 years old, 62. So he's a guy, I think, one of these guys on the list that can go higher. Made his first All-Star appearance last year, 262. I like to see him be a little bit more disciplined at the plate. I think for me, I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. I don't love him defensively, but the hitting potential is fantastic. I think Riley Green, the sky's the limit absolutely for him as well. So I put him there, but I don't know about this year if he goes into the stratosphere. Lourdes Gurriel for the D-backs as well. So good season for him last year. For the D-backs, I think the D-backs are going to bounce back. I think the D-backs are one of the elite teams as well. 18 home runs, 75 RBIs for Gurriel. Kind of the same deal. I'm kind of thinking with Taylor Ward, pretty good, solid. I think him playing left is going to go ahead and make it went ahead and pushes Corbin Carroll in the right field. So I think that's a good spot for him. Gurriel, I think, is 8. This is about right for him as far as the left fielders. Spencer Steer in left. So I love guys with the power, the old-fashioned, old-school size and power. Is he ever going to hit more than 225? Like, that's the thing with him. He's definitely going to hit for power. I'm not questioning that at all. But is he going to be ever higher on the list? Is he going to be one of these guys? I don't think with his type of power, and if you can keep him healthy, he's going to get you 30 home runs, 35 home runs. But can he stay healthy enough to do it as well? But definitely not great defensively. I don't love him. And again, that's kind of the case. I said, well, left field. But Steer, I think, definitely makes the top 10. Definitely with his home run bat that he has is definitely needed on the Reds. Definitely, here's a guy with loads of potential, Wyatt Langford. So saw him a couple of years ago in Florida in the College World Series, and he's super impressive. Didn't get off to a great start as people had hoped, but he seemed to get it at the end of the year. I really like his upside better than Riley Green. 16 home runs, 74 RBIs. Talk of him pitching like he did in college. Really young, though. 23 years old. Excellent college player. I think he had a great rookie year. I think definitely him and I think he could be the one spot for many years is available here. I definitely think he's a guy that can be a number one left fielder in all of baseball. Definitely the Rangers, I think, bounce back a little bit, and I think Langford is a complete package potentially. Still a little green, has to put it all together, but I have him at 6, Wyatt Langford. Number 5, the Orioles, Tyler O'Neill. It is looking like left. We're going to get to the state of the franchise for Tyler O'Neill, but definitely the only concern with him is the health. That's it. Everything else is good. He had a good year last year, 31 home runs, 60 RBIs, had almost 100 hits, hit 241. The only concern is if you can keep him healthy for a whole season, which he has struggled with throughout the course of his career. But definitely he's going to hit home runs, certainly in Camden Yards, and really help the Orioles. But number 5, absolutely Tyler O'Neill. Brandon Nimmo. I have him at 4. Honestly, I kind of felt like he's always kind of underachieved a bit as a player stat-wise. 31 years old now, Brandon Nimmo. So kind of one of these guys, I feel like he's younger. We're still kind of waiting for Brandon Nimmo to go ahead and break out. But he had 90 RBIs last year. But I like to see him consistently. It seems like his production kind of goes down when his average and everything goes up, or there's an injury or whatever. So he's been healthy the last 3 years. This is one thing I like, and I am thinking that he's going to put together, but definitely a bat, definitely that can really explode. Definitely in that lineup, lots of protection. Soto, they did sign Pete Alonso back in New York, so Nimmo, not a lot of pressure on him. Lindor, I definitely think there's a lot to like with Nimmo. But I always sometimes shake the feeling that Nimmo should be doing more as well. But Nimmo, definitely 4 on the list. Really no problem. Brian Roberts, I think the Pirates are very lucky to have him. Just a steady, solid hitter, period, as well. What you're going to get from Roberts. You're going to get 20 home runs. You're going to get 80 RBIs. He's actually a native of Baltimore, so that's outstanding. He had like 275 last year. Good, solid offensive player. Not a force multiplier in that sense, but definitely a good, solid offensive player for the Pirates. One of their better offensive players. I said they're lucky to have him because they've had a guy of this caliber the whole year. A lot of times with them, they trade these guys out and away. Told you there was a surprise. Y'all recognize this guy, right? Anthony Santander. He is going to be in the left for the Blue Jays. So no longer is the Oriole, as we know, one of the longest tenured Orioles that we had. Going to George Springer is going to stay in right. Anthony Santander is going to be in left. If you're going to put him in left, I got to put him to the top of the list. We all know the year he had last year. He had 44 home runs. Anthony Santander, I think, is one of the best power hitters in all of baseball. 44 home runs, over 100 RBIs, 140 hits. Known as a guy of streaks. The streaks were much longer last year. Now, the concern here is he doesn't hit well in Skydome. I still call it Skydome, Rogers Center, throughout the course of his career, but that's about it. I think otherwise, I think he's even like a down year. If it comes down to 30, 31, 29 home runs, I mean, that's still really good. I think Santander, I think he'll be fine there in left. In left, probably a little easier on him as well, playing in left. And number 1, Steve Kwan of the Guardians. I would love to see more players in the league like Steve Kwan. Absolutely 300 hitter, going to steal a lot of bases for you, outstanding defender. Everything is great with Steve Kwan except for the power. Does not hit for any power, doesn't really hit any home runs as well. But he's definitely the table setter, the tone center. You talk about the Guardians, they have that great bullpen, and they have Jose Ramirez as their power hitter and setting the tone, Steve Kwan. I think he's number 1 for the Guardians, number 1 left fielder in all of baseball. There you go. So, left field, I think Santander is going to play left. I can almost see it on Twitter and Facebook where somebody's going to argue, no, he's a right field. No, he's been a right field. Now he's left. I do look at the fan graphs and the depth charts and say where guys are going to play. I had so many people tell me Betts isn't a shortstop. Yes, he is. He's going to play shortstop. So regardless of where he played before, he's going to play shortstop this year for the Dodgers. Santander is left. Kwan, I think, is easy number one. I think in as far as a left fielder, consistent, solid player as well. Outstanding contact hitter. Has some injury issues, but that's the only thing. All right. Data franchise for the Baltimore Orioles. So, pitchers and catchers reported today. So we're all excited about that. That the Orioles have pitchers and catchers here. Sorry about that. Pitchers and catchers reported today. So we're all happy about that. That the Orioles have, they're actually there in Sarasota, ready to go. First full day really will be tomorrow for the pitchers and catchers. So they're going to, after this, we are going to have spring training reports going forward for the rest of the spring. Also, in addition to the last one right before the roster is built, we'll go ahead and take a look at that. All right, we'll skip that slide. So let's take a look. State of the franchise. Who's coaching? Brandon Hyde is in year 6. Drew French is in year 2. Tony Masso, his name. He's in year 4. He's back at third base. Anthony Sanders has been there as well with Hyde, the longest as well. Not surprised they changed the hitting coach after some of the struggles last year. Cody Ash is going ahead taking over as the hitting coach. So looking to improve a lot of these young hitters. A lot of still young hitters that the Orioles have. And you see Robinson Chirinos now, no longer a player, going to be sitting next to Brandon Hyde on the bench as the bench coach. First year, I think, as a manager at all, as a non-player. So good effort for him. Good to see a former Oriole getting a job as a manager, as a major league, not a manager, but a bench coach. What happened went out the door. Corbin Burns, the ace, goes and signs with Arizona. I never did think that Burns was signed here. I think like a lot of people were kind of hoping against hope. I never did think that. We just talked about Anthony Santander was right field, now in left field, going to play left field for the Blue Jays as well. Again, no surprise that he's gone. Didn't think they would sign him. Danny Kalembe finds a new team with the Twins. Jacob Webb. I think both of these guys kind of got jerked around good by the Orioles. They were good. I think they kept getting sent down. So I hope they find an opportunity. Have not heard anything on John Means yet. Somebody correct me. Possibility he may sign still. They haven't signed him, or nobody signed him yet because he's not healthy enough to sign yet. So they might just be waiting just to, he's healthy, especially with his injury history. And I don't think James McCann signed anywhere yet that I'm aware of as well. So I definitely was looking for that. What's coming in the door? Tyler O'Neill, we talked about him. He's going to be out there in the left for the Orioles. For the Red Sox, last year, hit over 30 home runs. Definitely a good, solid defensive player. Definitely just got to keep him healthy as well. Gary Sanchez, definitely all known for his offense, no defense, but Gary Sanchez, I think, is a fantastic offensive player as well. I think he has improved the defense. Sagano from Japan, he's a rookie and he's a free agent signing. He's definitely going to be one of the good additions, I think, for the Orioles. Look, taking a guy, it's been a while since we've had one here. We had Koji Uehara. That was the last time I think we've had it. A guy who came directly from Japan, as far as it is from Japan to the majors. I think that was the last one. Koji Uehara was the last one. Andrew Kitcher's stuff is nasty. I love his curveball, love his slider. Definitely, I think he's a guy that can actually become 8th inning, 9th inning guy. I don't know if he is right off the bat. We'll look at that. Charlie Morton, good, solid major league signing. I don't know why everybody's on this this signing bad. This is a guy short of having Corbin Burns or a stud on your team or an ace. Having a Charlie Morton is a great way to go. This is a sign, and I know, again, I can see the dislikes already in the comments, that you are moving towards spending more money, because a guy like this is something you do when you are spending some money. It's not as good as obviously signing a guy long term, which we want, but signing a Charlie Morton is a sign of that. Daz Cameron, I think he was actually released. I left him on there. I think he'll probably be in spring training once he actually goes ahead and goes through waivers. I think they'll probably bring him into spring training. Dylan Carlson is going there in spring training, signed with the Rays, former Cardinals prospect. Roman Morano, I don't make more of these signings. I see a lot of people losing their mind over these signings. These guys are just spring training guys. My guess is these are the guys in Norfolk ready to play if there's an injury to O'Neill, etc. I don't care if he's making $4 million. He'll be in Norfolk, I think. I think more people are making more of it than what it is. Samia Basayo, the Orioles prospects, I think he's number one. I think most people in baseball agree that Basayo and Kobe Mayo are top 13 prospect. I had 8 and 13 the last time I looked at it. They may be higher than that or lower than that. They agree easy, the two top prospects. Chance McDermott, I think he's definitely, this is a big year for him. I think at some point he's going to be in the majors. Probably the only guy you have that can come up into the majors soon. Their draft picks are really good the last couple of years. Vance Honeycutt was just an absolute physical specimen. Loved watching him in the College World Series. Everybody's talking about his swing and miss. Let's talk about the athleticism he has, his ability to hit the power. Excellent plus throwing arm in the outfield. I certainly don't believe he goes to the end of the year and not be a top 100 prospect at all. Enrique Branfield was complimented by Mike Elias. Definitely, I don't know if he shows up this year, but definitely after Cedric Mullen leaves, I think, which could be after next year as well. He's going to have to fight with Dylan Beavers, who I think is also a top prospect. I think definitely, probably you will see Dylan Beavers at some point this year. He probably starts in Norfolk, but I'd be shocked if he spends the whole year. And Griffin Farrell, I've said it every time, Dustin Pedroia vibes. Excellent, gritty hitter as well. Good defensive. I mean, here's a guy like who's going to be underrated, but all he does is produce. Like, you're going to see it. I don't know if he'll ever be as high in the prospect rankings, but I really like him as far as whenever I've seen him. Very impressed with Griffin Farrell. Those are the top prospects as well. That schedule. What's the biggest series on the schedule? So obviously the Yankees, I mean, no use for the Yankees, and then no use for the Yankees, right? Let's get the Yankees and the Squealers in the same terminal in Baltimore and just throw them down there. No use for them. They probably are, as much as I don't like the Yankees, probably are the best team in the AL right now, even though they did go to the World Series, even though they did lose Juan Soto, they did go get Bellinger, Max Fried, etc. So it's a good test for the Orioles early. Get pumped up for the Royals series. The last 2 times you've been to the playoffs, 2 of the last 3, you've been knocked out by Kansas City. So you've been knocked out by the Chiefs in football, and you've been knocked out by the Royals in baseball. So let's get a little serious about the Royals. Also, too, they might have the only other player in the American League as far as shortstop better than Gunnar Henderson at shortstop. So definitely the matchup of the 2 best shortstops in the American League. The Braves is always one to watch as well. I think that's going to be key. I think the Braves are going to be pretty good. You're definitely going to see that. Especially see you got Charlie Morton from the Braves last year as well. So maybe he will pitch in the series. I think that's a big one. Rangers, I think, is going to be interesting as well right after the break. So when you're right after the break, that's going to be key. Kind of the Rangers and Orioles are kind of in the same spot. Are they still teams that can make the playoffs and still teams that can actually go where they need to go? And the Dodgers are there. Obviously, no explanation needed. World Series champions. Obviously, that's going to be big. Going out to LA. Storylines. 5 biggest storylines. How good is Jackson Holliday going to be in his second season? I think Jackson Holliday, I got no problems at all with Jackson Holliday. I still would like to see him short rather than second. That's just me. But I think Jackson Holliday is going to be fantastic. Who will emerge as the Orioles ace? I think they're going to start with Zach Eflin. I think the Orioles would like to see, obviously, Grayson Rodriguez become that guy and become the guy that we're all hoping for. Will Gunnar and Adley get an extension? I've been talking about it for a while. I don't think so. I think the young guy thing has failed, as ship has sailed. I think like were they getting any kind of discount at this point, even if they were approaching, I think that's over. So there's some jumping off the Adley extension thing because for Sio, I'm not. I think Adley's still really good. We'll see. I think he kind of overplayed as well, but I do think how he plays early may factor into that. Can Mount Batista return to form? I hate the fact that they're starting him slow in spring. He hasn't pitched in a while. He should be ready by now. So I think maybe they're just being cautious. They're going to need him as well. I think like if you can pay Luis Batista back to where he was, that 7th, 8th, and 9th, we talk about Cano, Kittredge, and Sir Anthony. I think that's really good. And will the Orioles finally win in the playoffs? We'll see. I certainly hope you're right that the Orioles finally win in the playoffs here as well. Real quick. All right, so let's go to this. Oh, that's the wrong slide. So let's go. All right. So there we go. Real quick, let's go through the lineup as well. It's part of the state of the franchise. As of right now, this is what I think the batting order will look like most nights against the righties, especially Gunnar, Adley, Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill, Ryan O'Hearn, Ryan Mountcastle, Cedric Mullins, Jordan Westberg, Jackson Holliday. Put those right now. If I had to do a depth chart, that's going to start the bench. Gary Sanchez, he's definitely going to be on the team. Jorge Mateo, Ramon Urias, Heston Kjerstad. I'm not even sure any of these other outfielders are going to be there, but I think it might be a spot that, if anything, you might see Kjerstad not there, sent to AAA or trade. I don't know. But I think that if it's a season start today, that's what they would be doing. Rotation, Zach Eflin, Grayson, Charlie Morton. I think he's going to be 3. I think they brought him in. Dean Kramer is 4. Sagano is 5. I got no problem putting Sagano's family. He's never pitched in the majors before. Kramer, Morton, I guess. Quiets has kept this as a solid group. I actually don't hate it. There's not a stud, which is not a real weakness, except for maybe Sagano, because he's never pitched in the majors. So we'll see on that. But that's kind of the way it looks. Don't know how this is exactly right, but when you talk about the bullpen, Felix Batista, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Yadier Cano, Canelo Perez, Greg Soto, Keegan Aiken, Andrew Kittredge, and Albert Suarez. Suarez should be out of the team just out of respect. Just what he did last year. Kittredge for sure is going to be a great late inning arm. Aiken, Soto, Perez. I think it's going to be 8. We'll see. They may trade some of these guys, bullpen guys. You never know. But I think this is kind of what it looks like to start as well. Chance McDermott, Cade Povich. You never know who might be there. Suarez, if there's an injury, I think could go back into the rotation or anything like that. That's, I think, the state of the franchise, the way it looks at the starts. So next week, we're going to start doing spring training reports. So now that spring training has started, we're going to go ahead and go over that. And next week, we're going to start talking about the NFL draft. The draft. Thank you very much for joining us this week, Bravery Sports Podcast. Fans like me, you have a great rest of your day.